Hey, what's going on, Scions? Today we are looking at the epic heroes that will be available to us in Godforge Early Access. And you know I like myself a good challenge, and so I took it upon myself to look at every single archetype inside of the game and pick the #1 epic that I think is a cut above the rest. For those of you who need a fresh reminder, archetypes are very much like classes inside of an RPG. It aligns the hero in their kit with kind of the role they're supposed to be fulfilling on the team. But don't worry, I'll be discussing each archetype as we discuss the hero. So let's go ahead and get going here. We're going to start first with a disruptor. Now, disruptors are your debuffers. They are the ones that get in there amidst the enemy team and disrupt their plans, whether that be through placing disables, placing debuffs, decreasing turn meter, or anything around that realm. That is exactly what debuffers do and the position they hold on your team. Devana, why is she so good? First and foremost, she has a lot of AoE in her kit. She attacks all enemies with a basic. She attacks all enemies with her core. And even though her ultimate only attacks one enemy, it comes with one of the best, or maybe not best, but rarest debuffs in the game. And with this high percentage chance and with the potential of leveling this up to maybe 100%, we don't know yet, there is a great ability to lock down a hero and lock down their core, which is really a lot of what the hero will revolve around, and oftentimes even their generator for their ultimate comes out. Now, some of you may be new to the Godforge sphere, and so what am I talking about here? Well, you have a basic attack that has no cooldown. Your core attack does have a cooldown, typically 3 or 4 turns, and then your hero has an ultimate, which requires divinity to use, and there has to be something happening either with them or in the game that is allowing them to gain divinity turn by turn so that they can use that ability. And so for Devana, that is that she gains 40 divinity when placing a debuff on an enemy. And because with her core, she is placing 2 debuffs at a high percentage rate, she is attacking twice, and so that percentage rate is even more guaranteed to hit. That means that she's going to be gaining divinity very quickly. And when she's not using her core, she is decreasing turn meter on targets by 20%. That is a huge amount. And granted, it is 35% chance, but it is an AoE. And so you have a very low chance of going into attack without having some kind of ability trigger and decreasing that turn meter of an enemy on the team. And then let's not forget her passive is that when an enemy receives a turn meter increase, this hero retaliates. So that means they increase turn meter. She attacks all enemies with a 35% chance to decrease the turn meter of each target by 20%. So while it may not be guaranteed, they increase turn meter, and then there's a chance she's coming back, not only doing damage, and if you crit cap her, probably decent damage, but also taking that turn meter back. Absolutely great hero. Devana, while eternal, is definitely a hero to look out for inside of Godforge. Next up, we have Ryujin, and he is an epic defender. Once again, another Eternal hero, still going and giving credence to my idea that Eternals are a little bit too strong inside of Godforge, but the rest of these heroes aren't going to be Eternal, which is very exciting to me. Now, we do have a sneak peek at Ryujin that perhaps he is a purchasable character at some point in the game. Simon did recently show a part of the shop and showed the ability to buy Ryujin at some point. If you are a low spender or just a spender in the game, I have a feeling that especially early on when we would have access to him, he is going to be an absolutely clutch hero to have. Why is that? As a defender, as an epic, he has a 19% speed in all battles aura. That means that every time, as long as you are putting him in the lead role of your team, then you are going to be speeding up everybody. And he is a defender, and that archetype in general is looking for damage mitigation, making your team stronger in terms of being able to take more hits, placing shields or ward or protection or something that is going to basically prolong the life of your heroes. And he does it really well. On his basic, he attacks, once again, all enemies. Are you sensing a theme yet? AoEs are incredible in a hero collector and a turn-based RPG. And being able to have them on your basic, being able to use them every single time, every single turn, if you so choose, is great to do. And he has a 40% chance to place attack down 2 on each target for 2 turns. We don't know what the percentage increases are going to be for skills yet, because in this type of game, you start with the hero having just their basic skills, and then you can level those skills up to typically increase damage, to increase the chance of putting a debuff. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is 50. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into 60% chance, but at least 50% chance is great when attacking all enemies, and you could be throwing out that basic quite often. But his core, he places ward on himself for 2 turns and protect 2 on all allies except this hero for 2 turns. Well, ward is going to reduce damage by 100% and is reduced when triggered. So he places ward on himself. He takes 2 hits of damage and then ward is gone. Great protection, great defender. But let's jump to the ultimate, because he attacks all enemies, again, more AoEs, and decreases the rank of each debuff on all allies and heals them by 150% of his defense. Guys, catch this right here, right now. This idea of decreasing or increasing the rank of debuffs is a newer concept in Godforge, at least for a lot of us who come from Raid Shadow Legends. And that is that, if you have attack down 2, which you can see right here, it decreases the attack of the enemy hero because it's a debuff by 40%. If your heroes have attack down 2 on you, this ultimate is going to decrease the rank to attack down 1, which is only decreasing attack by 20%. And so while you're not cleansing, this ability to decrease the rank is a very cool, a very clutch thing to do to help your heroes, your team, do better. And so he does that, and then he heals them 150% of his defense. If he's already starting with 1300 defense, if you boost that up as you level him up to 4,000, 5,000, you're almost going to be reaching towards a 10,000 heal, which granted is not going to be life-saving in all circumstances, but any kind of healing is great. And he is this top tier defender because he's not only protecting, but he's bringing some healing. He is bringing the decrease of rank. He's doing a lot. And didn't even catch this yet, that if an ally has no debuff on them, he places a shield, 250% of his defense on all allies. He gains 30 divinity, his generator of how he's going to be getting his ultimate, when hit by an enemy. And because of Protect 2, that means that once he places that out, he's getting hit no matter what. And so he's going to be gaining ultimate pretty quickly and going to be an absolutely incredible defender to have on your team. For his passive, when an ally under Protect has their turn meter decrease, it increases their divinity by 10%. And when an ally under Protect has their divinity decreased, increase their turn meter by 10%. Okay, so enemies, you're decreasing my divinity? Great, I'm going to increase their turn meter. They're going to go faster. Oh, you're decreasing my turn meter? Great, I'm going to increase my divinity so I can get out my ultimates faster. This guy is bonkers good. Next up, this is when it begins to get tricky. We have our brawler. Now, brawlers are damage dealers that also bring some own like self-utility to keep them going. And Thorkell is an absolutely incredible brawler. Now, I do have an honorable mention for the brawlers. I'll get to that in a second. But why is Thorkell the best? Well, he does increase crit damage in arena battles. I don't necessarily see this leader bonus being used very often, but for his basic, he attacks one enemy 2 times. Now, this is not an AoE. The other 2 have had AoEs on their basic. We're not always going to have that, guys. But each hit has a 50% chance to place 1 stack of bleed on the target. Guys, damaging debuffs are going to be doing incredible things for your team in longer fights, especially when it comes to clan boss or pantheon bosses, I guess we should say, or even dungeon fights, taking down the dragon or anybody else. Being able to stack bleed and stack it quickly is going to increase your damage over time. And so he has a good chance of placing bleed 2 hits, each hit having that chance. He could potentially place 2 stacks on 1 hit, or excuse me, on 1 turn. And then his core, Mighty Cleave, it places Sharpen 2, increasing the chance of strong hit and strong hit damage by 30% on this hero for 2 turns and attacks all enemies. There's the AoE with 80% chance to place 2 stacks of bleed on each target. Now, guys, remember what I said about skills and leveling them up. This 80% chance, especially because this is a core ability, has a very high probability of booking up, leveling up, I should say, to 100% chance to place 2 stacks of bleed. And so you're going in with your core probably at the very beginning, your first turn, and immediately, boom, you drop the damage and you have 2 stacks of bleed on every single enemy. That means that, well, let's just clarify that that will inflict 1% of max HP damage at the start of the hero's turn. 2 stacks, that's 2% of their damage. And it can stack up to 10 times. Cannot be removed or reduced by abilities except by mend. You keep stacking these up and you're going to every single turn, boom, 10% damage, boom, 10% damage. And yeah, you can see that this may not potentially be the best thing for like waves because 1 or 2% isn't going to be much when you're trying to really just like slam down damage, but especially for bosses, 10% HP. Once fully stacked to 10 stacks of bleed, 10% HP on every single turn is incredible damage. He does that on his core, and then on his ultimate, he attacks all enemies, again, an AoE, 3 times. Each hit has an 80% chance to place 1 stack of bleed, probably going to level up to 100 for each target, and the target has more than 5 stacks, also heals this hero by 20% of the damage inflicted. And this is when his brawler status really comes into effect, because he is going to be able to self-sustain, heal himself, and bring him back into the fight when he is lower in HP and continue to dish out damage. You do his core, 2 stacks of bleed. You do his basic, potentially 2 stacks of bleed, but let's just say 1 on each turn. 3 attacks in, you're already at 4. You very well could already be at 5. You inflict that ultimate and boom, healing's going on, or you're already even placing more bleeds and healing just keeps happening. He gains 40 divinity when inflicting damage to enemies under bleed. Granted, we'll see how exactly that works in terms of his core, because he could be placing the bleed like as he's hitting or after he hits, and that may not generate divinity. But especially if he goes in with his core and then goes in with his basic after that, his divinity is just going to start ramping, because every single attack he does is going to absolutely boost his divinity to get to that ultimate. And with only 1300 divinity, that's really not going to be that hard to get to. And so, yeah, if you can get a core out, get the basics out, even get back to a core, you will absolutely have your ultimate, and he's going to do some great things. Now, his passive is interesting. This hero gains effects depending on the stacks of bleed on the enemy team. But at 5 stacks, you do 20% increased damage, which, hey, check it out. That means on his ultimate, he's going to be even healing himself more, because he heals by 20% of the damage inflicted. At 10 stacks, he steals 10% turn meter when attacking. This guy is doing all of the things. And then at 20 stacks, he has a 30% damage mitigation. Basically, he receives 30% less damage. He is an absolute tank of a hero, just simply because he's going to be built with a lot of HP, because he's a brawler. Brawlers are kind of the HP based damage dealers. He is going to be putting out a lot of bleeds. You have to build him with accuracy though. And then, yeah, he's going to increase his damage. He's going to be stealing, not just decreasing, stealing turn meter when attacking. Imagine, guys, this core with 10 stacks of bleed out. You pair him with another hero who's putting out bleed, man, it's going to be so good. And then, yeah, 20 stacks, damage mitigation. Incredible, incredible hero. And let me tell you about, though, the honorable mention when it comes to the brawler class. That is the OG Green Knight. This guy is absolutely great, but he doesn't bring all of the bleed synergy and the damage over time. And while he is going to be great with a taunt and retaliate, which allows him to counterattack, he just simply couldn't be placed above Thorkell. But Green Knight is the honorable mention brawler and an absolutely incredible hero. He is eternal, shocking, but if you get him, build him. So next up is Xipe Totec. This guy is our Slayer, and you can hear and think by the name, Slayers are your classic damage dealers. Give them more attack, give them that crit rate, that crit damage, and they are going to slam out damage. This is exactly what you want when it comes to clearing waves of content. And why is he so good? Well, you can already see bleed is all over this kit. And based off of Thorkell's kit, you know that I'm already going to say be a fan of this. So he is good for wave clearing because of his abilities. He is great for longer fights because of his bleed, but let's jump into it. He attacks one enemy with a 75% chance to place one stack of bleed. This very well could level up to 100. We don't know yet. But strong hits place two stacks instead. On his core, he attacks one enemy with an 80% chance to place three stacks of bleed. This 80% surely is going to level up to 100. And when he does this, he then attacks all enemies with 400% attack. So, boom, one hit on the enemy placing bleeds, and boom, hits everyone with the same amount of damage. And then, if the initial target has 10 stacks of bleed, the second hit will activate all stacks of bleed on all targets. This is a crazy ability. And Simon actually showed it off recently in one of his videos, and even the animations look pretty sweet. And so I'm a huge fan of this guy, and his design also is just so cool. For expose flesh, he attacks all enemies, more AoE, with an 80% chance to place Curse 2. This reduces healing and shield and barriers by 50%, places it for 2 turns, and if a target is defeated, it spreads 2 stacks of bleeds to all targets. This guy's a damage dealer, y'all. You're going to be crit capping him. You're going to be boosting that damage to make sure he hits hard. And so after the core already doing a lot of damage, coming in with his ultimate, and placing the curse down to, if a target is defeated, and that could be anybody, it spreads 2 stacks of bleeds to all targets. Now, I would imagine that this means that there has to be bleed on the target. And so, because it's spreading, and so if you somehow killed a hero that didn't have bleed on them already, it may not work. But if the target is defeated with 10 stacks of bleed, this hero gains an extra turn. Guys, seriously, Xipe Totec plus Thorkell, you will be a bleed engine. It will be absolutely incredible to see. He gains 20 divinity when inflicting damage to enemies under bleed, which, let's be honest, is every time he's doing damage. And so this is going to boost a lot. And I don't know if this 1000 is right or not, because it seems very low. Granted, he's only gaining 20 divinity, but absolutely bonkers damage. His passive, when below 50%, attacks remove 2 stacks of bleed and heal 10% per stack removed. So he's going to be healing himself, which is great. He does remove the bleed, which it could be a little odd, but even still, you're bringing him back to life in a sense. So, I mean, I'll definitely trade for that. But when above 50%, he increases strong hit chance by 2% per bleed on target. And strong hits are basically just going to be doing more damage and causing extra abilities based off of what his basic does. And so the more bleeds you get out, the more chance you have of placing 2 on a hit, which is great. Great synergy on Xipe Totec. Last but not least, we have Xolotl. But this guy was actually very difficult to choose because here's the thing. Invokers are kind of your buffers, your turn meter increasers, your revivers, even your healers as well. And you'll notice here that this guy doesn't really do a whole lot of those particular things, but as a hero in himself, he is absolutely clutch. In fact, he's kind of the epic version of Sun Wukong in many ways, in terms of being able to join attack and boost damage because of that. But we'll get into that in a second. I'm going to put the honorable mention here right at the front, because if you're looking for an invoker that's going to help your account, or at least kind of be the best for like sustainability for your team, you're probably going to want to aim for Makosh, because she is, at least at this point, the only reviver we know of that is an epic invoker at this time. She's only doing a one ally revive, which is quite poor, but revive seems pretty rare inside of Godforge early access. Granted, we do have all of these epics that we don't know their skills for. Hopefully one of them is a reviver, at least one of them. But right now, it is a very rare ability to have. And so, yeah, honorable mention, Makosh. I don't think she is incredible, but hey, she does give initiative in all battles, which is great. But anyway, in terms of what I believe is the best invoker is Xolotl, and he attacks one enemy and increases this hero's divinity by 50 and places a random buff or a random on a random ally for 1 turn. Speed up, attack up, initiative up, defense up, everything you would want. And there's nothing bad on this list. And now the random, that's not necessarily great, especially if you have like a defender that gets attack up or whatnot. But it's a basic, you're going to be doing it again the next turn. So you're just going to be churning out buffs. And check it out, jumping to his generator, he gains 4 divinity when placing a buff on an ally. And so he's just going to be every single turn boosting, boosting, boosting. And check it out, he only needs 950 divinity to be able to get his ultimate out. So easy. His core attacks one enemy and mirrors one random buff from the target. So if they have protection or they have retaliate or anything like that, you can go in, you can mirror that buff, put it on yourself, and then it also increase the duration of one random buff on all allies. Buff duration is a great ability to have. And this is why I put him so high, because one, he is an epic, so it's not every buff, right? You're only going to be doing one, and that's not going to be reliable in terms of creating some kind of like sustainable increase over time. But when you're just trying to progress, when you're looking for a great epic hero, this is going to be a great ability to have. And then on his ultimate, he attacks one enemy and places Sharpen 2 on all allies for 2 turns. If Quetzalcoatl is on this team, they will join the attack. Something I did not say in the basics is that he will prioritize allies who trigger Path of the Cycle Pump. And what that is, it has a 20% chance to join an ally in attacking. I believe Sun Wukong only has a 25% chance. So this 5% drop is not much. But when he joins an attack, he will heal 5% max HP all allies and increase their divinity by 5%. So there's a high chance that once per turn, he's joining an attack and boosting divinity and bringing healing is only going to make the rest of your team an absolute powerhouse getting those ultimates out. And so he is by far, in my personal opinion, the best invoker in the game. And so, guys, these are my thoughts. These are the top 5 epics inside of Godforge right now that we know of based off of the 5 archetypes. What have I missed, and what hero would you say is better than these? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to sub to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.